Alright y'all, welcome back. It's Big Al here, and this time around we're going to do something slightly different. Actually, very different. This is not going to be a lockpicking video. I've had a lot of people, actually over the last year or so at least, ask me, about making challenge locks and how I made my challenge locks. And a big part of how I do it and how I make my pins is one of these gadgets right here. What it's called is a mini lathe. Now you can find these. This one was off of Amazon. You can find them pretty much all over the place. I'm sure you can find them on eBay. If you can find them on Amazon, you can find them, pretty much anywhere. Again, it's called a mini lathe. Now these things are pretty neat. They're not great, and I'll get to that, but they're actually pretty darn good tools because they're so small and they're versatile. One of the major things too is it plugs in back here, by the way. I got it unplugged obviously right now because we're not going to run it. But one of the cool things is it's got these plugs on the back of the motor right here. You can actually switch those so you can have the motor spin any direction you want. I think that's pretty flippin' handy. So one of the things, now when you get these delivered to your house, what they are is it's called like I think it's a mini wood lathe. So this chuck that's in them, that's the first part we're going to complain about. The chuck, it's got a 3-prong chuck just like a regular drill chuck. And it's really awful. What it is it oscillates. It's not centered. So you cannot put a pin in there and try to work the pin because it's going to do one of these on you. They're not centered. So what I did, go to Harbor Freight like I did or somewhere else, get one of these super cheap POS. I guess it's kind of like it's a mini rotary tool. It's not a Dremel, it's a POS. It's a real cheap thing. I took it apart, or the other one, I took it apart, gutted it, and I took this part out, the chuck, the shaft. And you take that, as you can see, you leave the pin on it, the shaft on it, as much as you can. That goes in the chuck. And then you leave the bearing that's in there. The bearing's going to be press fit on there. Leave the bearing on. Don't disturb the bearing because you need that. This right here, Bobby Keys made me this on his 3D printer, but you can pretty much, rig your own standoff to hold that up so it holds that bearing nice and steady right there. And what that does is now when this spins, it's holding this thing absolutely true. And I mean, it's straight as an arrow. And I can tell you, because when I make my pin and pins, well, first we'll get to that. First of all, when I'm making my pins, you put the pin in there and you spin it. And if I'm making something like a spool, I'll use my little needle files, and I use this as a guide to hold my file. Or I use this for making serrated pins. People asked about this before too. This is a jewelry saw. This blade, if you can even see it, it's about the size of a hair, but it's a blade. And then I use that to make my serrated pins, just like so. And I'll tell you what, you make serrated, if you've seen my serrated pins, you'll know they're really, really good. And this is the reason why. Okay, moving along. To make the pin in pins, again, to make the inner pin, which would be kind of like a T-pin, just put the pin in here, file it down until you get the right diameter. That'll fit inside the sleeve you're making. To make the outer part, I take this dude off right here, this little guide, and I've rigged up this part. This is going to come with your tool also, but you're going to need some kind of guide. I made this out of it's kind of, I think it's a welder's electrode of sorts. All I did was ream it with a I think it's a 16th or a 32nd. I forget offhand now. I should have done my homework before the video, but I drilled through it with this drill bit so it fits absolutely true through the center of that. And it's a guide. That's all this is going to be. Then I put this on here, slide it forward, tighten these little wing nuts down. Of course, this is a little slower when you're actually doing it because you want to line this up perfectly straight. And then you spin the pin in there. You're holding the drill bit, put it through the guide, and then you just push the drill bit. You can see that. Then you're just going to push the drill bit right through the center of that pin. Boom. That's how I make my pin and pins. Alright, so I mean, you can do it. It doesn't take a whole lot. Like I said, I made this part in here with welder's electrode, I think it's called. But you can use something else. and just drill a hole right down through the center of it so that it keeps that drill bit perfectly straight. You could, I guess you could probably just hold this, but you're not going to get it as true as if you had a jig to do it, because I'm telling you, when you got this sliding through here, it's absolute. I mean, it's just right through the center of that pin every time, and I can, you know, just pin after pin after pin every time I can do it. All right, so what else are I going to show? Bada boom, bada bing. Well, yeah, like I said, these chucks, don't, you know, when you get one of these, if you try using it, you're going to be very disappointed, maybe not even ever use it again, because they're that bad. It oscillates. So having this bearing in here with this standoff, you know, by the time it gets over here, now you got to make sure, I had to shim it with a piece of paper to get it exact, but I'm telling you, when that spins, this part here is absolutely true. It's just a fabulous, fabulous way to do that. So we covered, I think we covered the chuck part. We covered the pin and pin. I showed you the jewelry saw. I'm telling you, they're like hairs with teeth on them. So that's how I make my serrated pins. And the drill bit's how you get the inner part. I think that's it. I think that's pretty much all I can tell you about these. Other than, again, you can find them on Amazon. With a little bit of tweaking, you can turn it into a really, really good tool. I mean, I use this thing constantly. Not just for making pins. Now I use it for all kinds of things. I actually used it, I think, when I was making my disc detainer tools for the shaft to buff the shaft, stuff like that. But I use it for all kinds of things. So that'll do it. That's all I wanted to show. I wanted a lot of people asked about this, and I know you know, as far as challenge locks, people are I don't know. Bosnian Bill stopped doing them, and it seems like everyone played follow the leader for some reason. I didn't know we had a leader, but that's fine. I still like a challenge lock. I still like making them, so you know, I recommend to the newcomers that you still give it a shot. As a matter of fact, if you are a newcomer, you want to make a challenge lock, I'd love to try it. So that'll do it. Again, the mini, I think it's called the mini wood lathe on Amazon, so check it out. All right, I just wanted to show that off. All right, now the winner for last Sunday's pack lock giveaway. We're still doing the these are the pack lock from the Pacific Lock Company. It's the pack lock 200A featuring my logo. We're still doing a pack lock a week for an undetermined amount of time. And for last Sunday, which was, whoops, I didn't have the date on it, which was Sunday. Oh, 1 second. That's my bad. Last Sunday was the 29th. So last Sunday, which was the 29th of September, it's going to be the one and only Mr. Bear's Back. Bear's Back, I know I already have your mailing address, so I will get that pack lock out to you directly. All right, probably Monday. All right, so that'll do it. Like I said, I had a lot of questions about this off and on for the last year or so, and I really just wanted to share all that information with y'all. So that'll do it. All right, thank y'all so much. And again, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. As always, if you comment, I will get back to you. All right, Big Al, signing out.